Good evening, everyone. Today is Thursday, February 4th, 2021. I now call this Fairfield City School District work session to order. Mrs. Lane, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Begley?
Here.
Mr. Birding?
Present?
Mr. Clark?
Present.
Mrs. Gundrum? Here. Mrs. Shorter?
Here.
Okay, Mrs. Gundrum, will you lead us in the pledge, please? Thank you, Mrs. Gundrum. First item on our agenda is presentations and resolutions. And State of the District, Mr. Smith.
Yes, Mr. Birdie, members of the board, we do have one presentation scheduled this evening, and I am honored to present the State of the District. So I will make my way down to the podium. Sure, I have my water. All right, so here we are again, once a year, usually the first meeting in February. We have the State of the District presentation. Mrs. Aug reminded me moments ago that these are not 3-hour chairs. So I'll try to have an awareness of the time here. And luckily, Mr. Clemens hasn't joined us yet. I think he was the one that had that original concern about the chair. So in all seriousness, I'm so honored and excited to present this evening. Every year it's a process. It takes a few months to go through and really look at what has happened at this point. Usually I cut our events off in December 31. So it's kind of a review and reflection on what has happened from the beginning of the year and until the December 31st. Needless to say, as you all know, it's been a year unlike any other, but that hasn't stopped us. We've had a great year, a lot of great things happening, and I'm excited to share some of those things this evening. So we'll get started. These up for you as we go. So the first thing I want to touch on this evening under Serving the Whole Child is talk a little bit about some data. And our district uses MAP assessments for grades K through 8, and every student in each grade is assessed. In grades 9 through 12, there are only a small group of students that take that assessment. So as a result, we'll be focusing on reading and math MAP data for grades K through 8. This year we weren't really sure what to expect in terms of assessment results because of the impact of COVID-19. Factors that led to some uncertainty, the fact that we ended the last school year in remote fashion and really did so with no notice at all, not having summer school, beginning the year in a hybrid model. And although we did return to face-to-face in October, we still had to deal with a large number of absences from not just our students, but also our staff due to positive tests and quarantines. And, you know, we really didn't know how much that was going to impact us until we actually experienced it, because we didn't know what we didn't know. And it turned out that has been one of the major challenges this year for our staff members. Trying to serve the students that are there face-to-face while also serving students that are out, you know, initially for 2 weeks because of quarantine. Needless to say, though, our students were assessed in the fall and have recently been assessed again. From fall 2020 to winter 2021, students in grades 3, 4, and 5 met projected growth in the area of math, which means that students in grades 1, 2, 6, 7, and 8 did not meet that projected growth. In reading, students in grades 2, 7, and 8 met projected growth, which means that students in grades 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6 did not meet expected growth. Earlier, I indicated some of the factors that impacted the data. But I also would like to talk about some next steps as we move forward. Mrs. Aug, I met with Mrs. Aug and Mr. Beidelman from the curriculum department last week to look at the data and also have some discussions about moving forward. And it's a balance there because those things that I mentioned, our staff members feel that, but at the same point in time, you know, we know what we know. The data gives us some data, you know, it gives us something to work from. So we don't want to ignore that this year has been unlike any other, but we still want to move forward as much as we can. And our kids are coming to school, and so we came across with some action steps, some things that we're going to be doing. And then actually, a few days ago, Mrs. Aug informed me that she attended a meeting with her peers, other curriculum directors in the area, and it came out in that meeting that in many districts in our region, they are experiencing the same kind of data that we've experienced. But again, having said that, we still want to talk about some steps that we can take moving forward. So some of those things I'd like to share, and one is a slide that's occurring in math, and that's not just local or regional, that's actually a national concern right now. So we're one of many districts who are hoping to benefit from a potential grant from GE that would provide for a summer program to address those widening gaps in the area of math. In addition, in the summer of 2021, our school district is planning to offer summer school to, again, try to close some of those gaps. And we're also looking at building data to identify some of the trends, and we should be able to identify some of the strengths and then use those strengths to improve upon some of our weaknesses. Mrs. Aug, Mr. Martin, and I are going to meet with our building principals next week to have a deeper discussion with them around the data, as well as to maybe to identify some additional specific strategies for intervention. As I said, we recognize it's been a challenge, and we want to continue to serve the whole child while giving some extra attention in this particular area. And I'm also hopeful that having the majority of our staff members vaccinated, combined with a lower number of positive tests and quarantines, will result in more stability, which will give us better opportunities to support the needs of our kids consistently. The next thing I'd like to talk about, response to COVID. Our leadership team on October 1st presented to the board and also to the community FCSD response to COVID-19, which is one of our goals at the beginning of the year, to continue to update our community about the virus and the impact on our district and protocols and procedures. During that presentation, it was a very comprehensive one. We reviewed how we've offered different options for our families, provided electronic devices to students, expedited our technology plan, provided lunches all the way back to March throughout the summer while we were on the hybrid model, so on and so forth. At the conclusion of that meeting, as you recall, I made the recommendation and the board approved for our students to return to face-to-face instruction at the beginning of the second quarter, which started on October 26th. Since the beginning of the pandemic, the district has repeatedly shared that we would follow the guidance of the experts when making decisions. For that reason, as you recall, we decided to go remote for 1 week after the winter break. That was a result of Governor DeWine making that recommendation on December 23rd. It turns out, I think that really was in our best interest. We had not been planning on doing that. He made that recommendation. I will tell you that at our high school specifically, that following week, when we came back, there were a large number of positive tests, folks that had tested positive in that last week that we were actually remote, so that worked out. Throughout, all of us have learned a lot about the virus, but we still are not public health experts. As a result, we'll continue to rely on the guidance and recommendations from the governor, the Ohio Department of Health, as well as our local health department officials. In addition to that, presentation through, our website, our social media accounts. We've consistently updated our community about the positive number of positive tests, quarantines, and changes to protocols and procedures. And that one's a really important one because a lot of people don't realize that those protocols and procedures, those are passed down to us. We are not creating those ourselves. And, as you recall, I believe it was over winter break, we received some great news, and then they changed their minds, and then they changed their minds again. So in a matter of 14 days, I think we received 4 different sets of guidance around quarantining. So as much as possible, we try to educate our community so that they understand that we are just receiving those guidelines from the experts. Those are not, we don't create those protocols and procedures. Building visits, similar to everything else this year, they were a little different. In fact, Mandy and I still have one left, and we started this back in October. But several of those had to be canceled, rescheduled because someone was quarantined or someone had tested positive. So just something as simple as a building visit, October, November, December, January, February, here we are, and we started those months and months ago. But so that's just an example of the kind of year that it's been. But as I said, they were different. There was no building report card to discuss, but we did talk about map data during those visits. Gave us an opportunity to just sit down and chat with our leaders, and just check on them, see how they were doing, and how can we support you. They are on the front lines leading our buildings, and it's no easy task. Our favorite part about that is we had the opportunity to go into classrooms and see students and teachers at work. And I can't put into words how wonderful that was to get into those classrooms and see our students and teachers doing their thing. And they were wearing masks and they were socially distanced, but you could tell they had their routines down. Later I will share some other observations that we made in regard to the use of technology and student engagement in those observations. What we were seeing was totally different from what we had been used to seeing in the past because we expedited our technology plan. Opportunities for students. As you know, we've given examples each year of how we're growing in this area. And some of these things we've done in the past, but we also have shown some growth here and are doing some new things. So one, right off the bat, the expansion of the middle school academy has provided opportunities for middle school students who struggle in that traditional setting to stay in school and be successful. So excited it was launched this year. We were able to launch it in spite of the pandemic. It was different, just like everything else was. As you know, our high school academy has been very successful for our students. And we know that the middle school program will be as well. But it will take some time to get there. It will evolve just like the high school program did. We went about 10 years without having an option for our middle school students, so we're very excited about the expansion at the academy. One-to-one technology rollout was accelerated this year. So now our students in grades 5 through 12, they have a device which levels the playing field for those students and those families who cannot afford to purchase one. In some buildings, we are already at a place where students in grades 3 and 4 have devices, and our other buildings will be there shortly. So having those those devices in the hands of our students has really had a very positive impact on how we deliver instruction. And Mandy and I could see that as we walked through our classrooms. We also talked about this year, we completed the English Learner Needs Assessment to understand how the district may better meet the needs of our students. We've already started to act on some of those feedback suggestions. An example would be PSYOP training in January last month. In addition, we're looking into improving the signage for some of our entrances and front offices. As you know, the district has also placed a heavy emphasis on improving ACT scores at our high school through a partnership with Torch Prep and through locally designed initiatives. Really excited about our work in this area. This is something that we've been talking about for years. You know, what could we do differently to get different results. And when I talk to Mrs. Aug and Mr. Rice, I can sense their excitement about what's happening. And I can't wait to see the results in the future. And most importantly, this is an example, so proud of the fact this is one of those initiatives that we are moving forward with in spite of the pandemic. It would be very easy for everyone to say, hey, not this year. You know, anything new, we're not going to do anything this year because we are in the middle of a pandemic. But we haven't done that, and I'm really proud of the fact that we're moving forward in so many areas. In a very short period of time, the district put together a virtual learning option that was offered to all students. Prior to COVID, this type of program would have taken years to plan and implement. Because of COVID, though, we didn't have a chance. We didn't have a choice. We acknowledge that it got off to a rocky start, just as it did in other districts across the state. But after about 6 weeks, things really stabilized. And it is a great fit for some of our students, but it's not a great fit for all of them. And that's what we try to emphasize with our parents. Hey, go to this link, click on this, make sure you research it. You know, we try to be as transparent as possible and say, this is not for everyone. Make sure you research it before you choose it. But I've read the comments on Facebook, and I've heard, feedback from parents in the community. Some of them absolutely love it. Their kids love it. You know, it reminds me of an academy situation. Not every student is going to thrive in a building with 2,400 students. Every student is unique, and we always talk about meeting students where they are, and the more we can do that, the more successful we're going to be, and the more successful our students will be. So, and I've heard parents say, they love it so much that they want their child to continue with that type of program. And if we don't offer it, then they will look elsewhere. That's a conversation for another day. But that's exciting to see and to hear that we put this together because we had to. And again, we went through a rough patch, but it's really, things have stabilized and things are going well. And the members of our curriculum department, for that 6 weeks, they were on call around the clock to get the program where it is today, and I can't thank them enough under Mrs. Aug's leadership. Next, we've provided laptops, hotspots to students who requested them. We've provided, as I've mentioned, lunches to students and families throughout the pandemic and continue to do so. Technology Committee, I've already touched on that. Again, one of the goals, we wanted to have that presentation for the board to update the board and our community. That took place last month. And again, reinforcing the need to expedite that plan. And not just our staff, our students and staff have grown tremendously in this area. And it's had a great impact on teaching and learning. Like I said, I mentioned earlier, but our students and teachers are performing at a level that if we wouldn't have been forced to go this direction, it would have taken us years to do it. So much training. But they just had no choice. They just jumped right in, both students and staff. So we're super proud of them. Professional development. One of our goals talked about opportunities related to diversity, inclusion, and social justice for our staff members during the school year. During the August Professional Development Week, the district offered 2 sessions titled Social Justice, How to Engage in Diversity and Equity Conversations with Your Students. There was a 3-part learning series for administrators in September, October, and November around diversity, equity, and inclusion. Tommy Lewis, from Make It Plain Consulting, also led a PD session for all teachers and educational assistants on our in-service day on November 3rd. The district has provided additional resources to principals in order to continue that work between November and April, and Tommy Lewis is scheduled to present again to the staff on the April 12th in-service day. Some other things that have happened: Denise Hayes, our principal at North, has created a diversity committee to help support this work at North, and members of the BLT at our high school are doing their own book study using the book, The Hate You Give. And I'm so excited about the work that we've been doing and will continue to do into the future. And I realize we have to remain committed to providing the very best educational experience for every single student who walks through our doors. Next, and I'm going to pause for just a moment, take a drink. This mask on. How's that chair holding up? Doing okay? Report card presentation. This presentation was completed in November and was different, also different. One of the most exciting aspects of that presentation, again, I will reference the work at the secondary level, as we're trying to better prepare our students for the ACT. And as I mentioned earlier, we all know change takes time. That plan will continue to evolve, but I'm excited to see the rewards for all the work that's being done now. Book study, that was an action step identified at the beginning of the year. As you know, we're in the middle of a book study, and actually we will be discussing our book this evening, My Black Friend Says by Heather Fleming. We've had some great discussions in our meetings, and I've been receiving the same feedback from administrators across the district as well. Going to talk about Academy expansion presentation, which is also a goal for this school year. That presentation is scheduled for March 4th, but as I told you, the program is up and running, and we're excited to see what the future holds. All right, next we are going to go to safe, secure, and positive environment. Safety protocols and processes. So we established vulnerability assessment teams and conducted assessments in each of our elementary buildings. These assessments involve collaboration between our local police department, building administration, district administration, and our maintenance staff. These assessments will guide us as we make decisions about safety and security in the future. All hazard buckets were distributed to all buildings. Some of the contents included in those buckets: gloves, wipes, tape, glow sticks, and a tarp. If you recall, this was something that we started several years ago, and the goal was to get those buckets into every single building, and we've now reached that goal. The district provided access to Stop the Bleed training for any employee who had an interest in participating, and we continue to educate our community by maintaining a web page that contains information and resources in regard to safety, security, and mental health issues. Next, I'd like to talk a little bit about partnerships. We've had quarterly meetings with St. Joseph Orphanage, guidance counselors, and community liaisons to evaluate mental health referrals. Ensuring that all of our students receive the services they need has become much easier now that we are face-to-face. So that was a challenge under the hybrid model, but it's become much easier since October 26th. We've implemented the Hope Squad program in our high school. As you know, that program's been present in our 2 middle schools and our freshman school, and now it has made its way up to the high school, and I believe they had their first meeting at the high school back in December. We continue to have a great partnership and relationship with our first responders, and are very thankful for the SROs that we have in our secondary buildings. We continue to meet with them on a quarterly basis. We meet with them and the building principals in those buildings just to have some conversation about trends, identifying potential issues, etc. During the school year, we've also explored additional partnerships so we can provide mental health counseling for all students. In past years, you've heard us talk about some gaps because of this organization may cover, students who do have insurance or don't. Well, we have we added 11 therapists from Catalyst Counseling this year. They serve students that have private insurance. So as a result of expanding that partnership, we now have been able to close some of those gaps that we've been concerned about. Next, I'd like to talk about our lunch program. Since March, the district has been offering lunch to serve students. Back in the spring, it was remote. We served lunch during the summer, and then also lunch during the hybrid model as well. Our food service department has been outstanding. I'd also like to say a big thank you to all of the volunteers that we had in the spring and summer who would come out and volunteer either at our buildings to help with get the lunches out or to show up to our sites and get those lunches to the families. And then lastly, support of our student services director. One of the things we talked about at the beginning of the year is anytime we have a new person on staff, just really make sure we have a support system for that individual. Matt Crapo started in that position this year. He's done a great job for us. He and I continue to meet on a regular basis, but we also talk pretty much daily as a result of the coronavirus. He has kind of been a major designee. We call him Captain COVID in terms of dealing with the health department for quarantines, protocols, procedures. You know, while we're not experts, we kind of have become experts on knowing what we're supposed to do, but when we have a question, he's the one that will call the health department and get our questions answered. Next, we're going to talk about community engagement. First, going to talk about community events, some things that we've missed out on. You know, we used to have a community event at our football games in the fall, and we weren't able to do that. We've also hosted a State of the Community luncheon with city and township officials. All three parties agreed that we just can't do that again right now, and we're hopeful that we can start where we left off in 2022. As you know, for the past several years, our district administrative team, we had community coffee events. We can't have those events, but we did hold virtual community conversations. We made ourselves available back in the fall for 2 different dates, and we will be offering 2 dates in the spring as well. And we usually make those one during the workday and one in the evening for those that work different shifts. The next thing I'd like to talk about, Fairfield Pride. Really excited. This is kind of personal, but also just really excited about this to share that our family, my family will sponsor a Fairfield Pride scholarship in the amount of $500 for a student in the class of 2021 and beyond. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while. Just continue to be in awe of the people, the things that are happening in our schools, in our community. And we have so much to be proud of, and I just love it when our students exhibit that same pride in our schools and community. In the fall, we published and distributed a professional newsletter for our community members. It's important for us to tell our story to our entire community and not just the family members of our students. We're bigger than just our students and our staff and our parents. There are lots of people who live here who don't have kids in our school district, and we want to try to keep in touch with them as much as we can and keep them up to date about all the great things happening here. And I think I provided you with a copy of that in your folder. Members of our team were scheduled to present on the topic of overcoming mental health barriers at the OSBA conference this year, but because of COVID, that was canceled. Service Saturdays is something we started last year. We're working on that again this year. Back in the fall, we did have a community service event for our FAB staff members at Rethreads, and then we're looking for some additional opportunities in the spring. Those are a little bit harder to come by now, but they're still out there. Also been participating in a book study with Gina Gentry Fletcher and Angie Neal. The title of that book is Brand Ed, and all of us have really enjoyed reading it and discussing it. One of the focal points of the book is how to tell your story as a school district, which is something that is very exciting to us. And in fact, one of the things that came out of our book study and our discussions is something called a superintendent sit-down, a video series that we're kind of piloting this year, kind of putting our toes in the water, but I'm hopeful that it may become something that we do on a regular basis next fall. So we made our first video a few weeks ago with Mr. Muldoon, our Teacher of the Year, and so I suspect that will be out soon. It's supposed to be, I won't say a quick one, but if you know Mr. Muldoon, he likes to talk, and it was 36 minutes. So we're trying to edit that down just a little bit, but I'm excited about that, and that should be out here in the near future. Presentations, back in December, we discussed the plan to move forward in our Building Our Future 2.0 process by putting our name into the pool of candidates to receive funding. The decision, as you recall, we emphasized it was low risk, didn't require anything from the district other than agreeing to kind of put our names into the hat. Several of our team members met, thought that move was the best one for our district at this time. We definitely want to have a plan in place for the future, which is why we've chosen to engage, but at the same time with COVID-19 and the impact that it's had on our school, our community, we just decided we would revisit the larger process in the future. So we're hopeful that we can get back to that. Another goal we talked about was having a presentation for around open enrollment in our district, and in September, Mr. Crapo led that presentation. We do that presentation, as you know, every few years because open enrollment is often misunderstood by a lot of people in our community. And so it's important to make sure that our families and our community members are knowledgeable, not just about open enrollment, but all of our programs in the district. All right, our next slide, FCSD representation, a little bit more about partnerships. And as superintendent, I'm proud to, and to represent the district by serving as a Butler Health Plan trustee, Great Valley YMCA board trustee. I've had the opportunity to be in the Superintendent Leadership Academy with, I believe, around 29 other superintendents in the state. Unfortunately, that has not been what it was supposed to be either because of COVID, but needless to say, we're moving forward. The Bassett Report Card Committee, which is an important one, and then also a member of the Fairfield Rotary Club. Mercy Health, as you know, we have a very strong partnership with Mercy Health. We do have a representative from Mercy Health serving on our district wellness committee. Throughout the course of the year, we've had a lot of wellness activities for our staff. Some of the things, virtual yoga, self-care, professional development, healthy eating challenge bingo, water challenges, and step challenges. In fact, we are in the middle of a step challenge at the administration building right now. And if you were looking for Mr. Martin about 10 minutes, 15 minutes before the building, he was out in the building getting some steps in. So that's been fun. We talk about the importance of wellness for our students, but we're also doing everything we can to support the mental health and well-being of all of our staff members as well. All right, so now we're going to get to this part. I'm so excited, I just can't stop looking forward. It's not always about the test scores, and to go through this, these are the highlights, and because this is all about the kids and some staff members. So we'll buzz through this. So opening day 2020, best school year ever. This is, I always say, you've heard me say a lot, this is one of my favorites. So I probably have about 10 favorites. But opening day is the best. Just like everything else, it was different. You remember the saying, we have to be prepared to change on a dime. Well, we had things organized. We thought we were going to try to have it outside at the stadium so people could, be socially distanced. And then a thunderstorm came through. at around 6:30, and we just didn't want to take a chance of our, if it started raining when we were over there, it would have been a disaster. So we moved it into the PAC at the last minute. We did what we always do. We made the best of it. And it was a great day. And as I said that day, it was the first day. It's the beginning of the best school year ever. And I can't tell you how many people have said, really? Best school year ever? Yes, it has to be. We're here for our kids. And it may not be what we want it to be, but it is going to be the best, because we will make it the best that we can under the circumstances that we're given. Our kids deserve the very best every single day. And then back to school, again, another favorite. You walk around, you see the kids, and you may not be able to see their smiles, but you can tell they're smiling underneath their masks. They have their new clothes on, and they're excited to see their friends. And when they come back into those buildings, they just bring our buildings back to life, and there's nothing like it. Senior parking lot. This is a tradition. Our seniors, paint they can choose if they like. They don't have to, but they can choose a parking spot, and they can decorate it. And this year, Trevor Kane, he's one of our students, and he actually was nice enough to use his drone and take some pictures of that from above. So that was really cool. That was really cool for him to do that. It's the second year we've done it. Also, that whole project raises money for the National Honor Society's food pantry. Most people didn't know that. So fall sports during COVID-19. Again, we were excited to give our students the opportunity to participate, even though it wasn't like it had always been. People were wearing masks. They were socially distancing, small crowds. But in the end, we were ecstatic that every team had the opportunity to have a season, because the kids back in the spring did not. And then we can never go back and change that for them. So we did it, and, once again, we go back to the guidelines. We followed all of the guidelines, all of the recommendations, and gave our kids the opportunity to participate. Book bus comes to Compass. So these are some really cool pictures. This bus donated $1,000 worth of books to Compass. One of the coolest things was the books donated focused on diversity, loving each other, and learning from one another. Just love the positive message there. Serving our students and families. This is a picture of our cafeteria staff at Central. Once again, just love seeing the happy faces. That tells you they love to serve our kids and our families. And that's what it's all about. Recognizing positive behavior. So each of our schools has its own PBIS program. Here you see a picture of the first students recognized at our high school this year. So they received a gift card courtesy of the Route 4 Skyline. As you know, each year we have spotlights on each of our buildings. This was a pretty special presentation because this gave us our first look at what things were like. It was our first opportunity to hear from someone inside the schools who was experiencing it. And I remember Dr. Gillespie sharing that they were making lemonade out of lemons. It's just another example of all of our students and staff making the very best out of a unique situation. This is a great one too, celebrating our seniors. That's what's happening in these pictures. Again, our staff members, our coaches, our advisors finding unique ways to honor our students, especially our seniors. And I know sometimes they had senior nights at the beginning of a season or in the middle of a season instead of the end, because they were worried that they might not get to finish the season. Celebrating student success. This year we were fortunate to honor 6 students this year for being National Merit Scholars, and we're excited to see what the future holds for them. Earlier I mentioned some professional development. Here you see some pictures, and there at the top left you see a picture of Tommy Lewis, CEO and founder of Make It Plain Consulting, leading that training with some of our administrators. As I mentioned earlier, on October 1, our leadership team completed a presentation to our board and our community about the overall impact of COVID-19 on our school district this year. Homecoming is another tradition that everyone loves so much. We made it, once again, we made it as close to normal as we possibly could. We were able to have a homecoming court, a king and a queen, etc., but we did so in a safe manner. Community partnerships. This is Dollar Dog from our group, Financial Credit Union, paying a visit to Central Elementary. He shared a special message with the kids there: save your money, wear your mask, and wash your paws. Kids love it when they get special visitors. I love that, wash your paws. Giving back to our community. So back in the fall, we partnered with Channel 5 for a day of giving. As you know, it's just amazing what happens in this community when we have any kind of day of giving to serve our families. What was raised helped support the work that's done by our community liaisons. Board of Education welcomes Mr. Clark. In October, the board welcomed its newest member, and prior to his appointment, Scott was already very involved in our school district and community, and we look forward to his continued service into the future. So the first fall break ever for Fairfield City Schools, that was something that happened this fall. Several years ago, our community members were surveyed, our parents and our staff members were surveyed. This was something they were in favor of, so we were excited to have that. We received great feedback from many stakeholders. Fall break was a little different. We're hoping maybe that it may be more of a traditional break for them this year. Spencer Curran, a student here at the high school. We celebrated him. He made it to state. He shot a 75 on a cold, windy, and wet day to earn his spot in Columbus. Unity Day at East Elementary. East Elementary celebrated this during the month of October. Fox 19 was so impressed they visited the school and did a story. So what happened during October? The students took part in daily announcements, classroom activities, and pledged to be kind to one another. And as I mentioned earlier, there you see some pictures. October 26th, we welcomed students back full time. It really felt like opening, the first day of school part 2 when that happened. And the buildings were totally different. Next, you see pictures of 6 students who were accepted into the Cincinnati Symphony Youth Orchestra, which is the premier youth orchestra in our region. So this is just another example of the talent of our students and staff members. Halloween fun. So here are some pictures of various students and staff having fun with their costumes. I think you see Batman up there on the top of Central Elementary. Our staff, they don't have to do any of this, but they just love to help kids make memories every single day. Partnerships and community education. We have, like I mentioned earlier, we have a great relationship with Mercy Health, one of our partners. This is an example of us working together with them to educate our community and provide resources for them as well. Celebrating our staff, you recognize Diana Ivkovich, who's our trainer. She received the 2020 Bill Walker Memorial Award, which recognizes athletic training excellence. Community conversations, as I mentioned earlier, skipped right over that. We did make ourselves available back in the fall, and we plan to do that again in the spring. Honoring our veterans. So we were proud to partner with Fairfield Township as they had their inaugural Fairfield Township Veterans Day ceremony. I will say this, in addition to just this ceremony being so special, this was also not too long after we started back to school face-to-face. And so that was a really cool day because you could see all these kids there, and they were outside, and this might have been their first time doing something a little different that year because we had so many limitations on us. So it was a really cool thing to see. A mini parade that began at East and ended at North Elementary. Our students lined the parking lot and greeted the parade with signs, banners, and U.S. flags honoring veterans. It was really special. Promoting kindness. Our students at South participated in the Great Kindness Challenge by wearing cardigans in honor of the late Fred Rogers. That was really cool. Students serving our community. These are some of my favorite pictures highlighting our students from the Service and Leadership Club, serving our senior citizens by raking their leaves and cleaning out flower beds. This was a really cool story. Kayla Carr is the student. She's in Mrs. Larbus's art class at our freshman school. Mrs. Larbus posted a picture of Kayla's work. Someone came across it on social media and asked to buy it. And it's now framed and hanging on the wall in the designer's home. And if you're familiar with Clyde Gray of the Cincy Lifestyle Show, this actually made its way onto that show one day as well. These are some great pictures celebrating our essential employees. We actually call it excellent essential employees. We should have, those 3 E's in a row get you sometimes. But so this is something we just started this year, making, Mr. Martin and I have been going around to different buildings. Our staff members are nominating employees for being exceptional, essential employees. And so we give them a gift card. We give them a certificate, and then we also give them a coupon for a Jeans Week, and it's just been outstanding. We love it. Here you see a picture. Our freshman class council collected over 1,000 items for the high school's food pantry. As you know, during the pandemic, many families in our community need additional support, and these students took the initiative to help out. These 6 students from the high school were selected to be members of the Butler Philharmonic Youth Orchestra. So we were excited to celebrate them for their amazing accomplishment. Showing thankfulness. Some of our students made turkey hats while others planned and participated in their own miniature parades. As a school district and community, we have much to be thankful for. Here you see a picture of Mara Sappala, a student at our freshman school. She auditioned and was accepted into the Cincinnati Junior Strings. CGS is a part of the University of Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music. This string only group travels internationally. We're so proud that one of our very own was accepted into the group. Fairfield brings home the hardware, so we were excited, and a shout out to Matt Crapo and Angie Neal. Our district float won first place in the City of Fairfield's Parade of Lights community competition. This is a great story. This is a picture of Shirley Carpenter, one of our bus drivers. We received a letter from a parent telling us that her daughter thinks that her bus driver, Shirley Carpenter, is the best bus driver ever. Went on to say that her daughter calls her grandma and recently confided in the driver about some health concerns of a family member. Just talking about how Shirley has gone above and beyond for her daughter. And this is what it's all about. And I think this is happening every single day across the school district with our teachers, our bus drivers, our cafeteria workers, our office staff, our SROs, it's not just counselors, it's everyone. And I just love reading that this student interacts with all of these adults throughout the course of a school day. We often talk about our bus drivers. They're the first ones to greet our kids, and they're the last ones at the end of the day. And they may have a small amount of time, but they make a difference on them. And so that story really touched me. Academy staff spreading cheer. This is a picture of the staff at the Academy shopping for their annual Santa shop. So the students have an opportunity. They can pick out and wrap gifts for their family members. And we wouldn't be able to do that, the Academy wouldn't be able to do that without the support of our partners at Dougie and Ray, so I want to give them a thanks as well. Next, see here, National Honor Society induction. Once again, we couldn't gather in person, but our high school was able to recognize and induct its newest members. Just another example of how we found ways to celebrate our students and recognize them this year. Talked earlier about service, and these are some pictures at East and North. They sponsored 50 families for the sixth annual Christmas shop. And a group of students from our high school volunteered with Paws for Parents at their annual holiday shop, which benefited children with special needs in their families. And then we had a student at Central single-handedly donated 100 items to the hat and mittens tree. Next, we had a staff member took the time to thank Jupiter Donuts for their act of kindness. Not only did they donate coffee, but they also displayed the artwork of our students in their store and some of the local nursing care facilities as well. It's pretty cool. Thriving musicians at Crossroads. So we had some students that were accepted into the Cincinnati Youth Wind Ensemble. Travis, Elise, and Samuel competed against students from 3 states to earn a chair in this prestigious ensemble. This is yet another example of staff members going above and beyond. They wowed students with their homemade gingerbread houses. They don't have to do this, but they love to do this for the kids because kids come, again, just something so simple. They come through the line and they just get so excited about seeing these kinds of things. We've been doing this for the last couple of years. Our staff members, parents, community, they've raised over $26,000 for different programs simply by going online and completing surveys. Once again, $26,000. And again, we've done that for several years. Very thankful we had an Ohio State trooper, Tyler Ross, reached out to Marla Mays. He knew her. He wanted to determine the needs in some of our elementary schools. It's a program called Bundle Up with the Blue. So there was a coat drive that resulted in over 70 coats donated in our schools in just a few short weeks. And then this year, we usually have a ton of toys drive. This year we were unable to do that because of COVID. So instead, we had a Jeans Week for employees, which raised $1,757 for the Butler County Children's Services Agency. This is a story about one of our students, Elena Scott, at the high school, volunteered her time to help with care packages for seniors in Southwest Ohio. In the end, 7,500 boxes were distributed. So a special shout out to her for making a difference. And then this slide, this is really cool. So on the last day before winter break, these students and Mr. Ledbetter performed for our administrators. It was just beautiful to listen to them play. But what was really cool about it, this was a remote learning day for them. So technically, they didn't have to get out of bed, but they got up and were there before 8 o'clock. I believe we started at 7:30. And stayed there and performed for our administrators. And once again, just another example of why our school district and our community so special. And then before I get to the conclusion, we're right there, I'd be remiss, I know I said we cut this off December 31st, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention tomorrow. So, tomorrow is a very historic day for our school district because we will be offering the COVID vaccine to our staff members. And not only our staff members, but also the staff members in Monroe. So between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m., approximately 1,300 COVID vaccines will be given in our arena. And it speaks to not only are we educators, we're not trying to be public health officials, but we've managed, we're partnering with the Butler County ESC but we've managed to put together in about a week's time a plan to vaccinate 1,300 people come through this building between 9 and 3. And we couldn't be more excited and more thankful that we have that opportunity. But it's to be honest, it's been very emotional. There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. I know she's not here tonight, but Katie Myers has been absolutely outstanding. And, you know, when you just constantly provide information and we're trying to organize it, but then we are being, you know, yesterday we got 6 changes to the process. And then she communicates that out to a staff of over 1,000. And so I want to thank her. I want to thank everyone for their work behind the scenes to make this happen. It's going to take a village tomorrow. It doesn't matter. It will be worth it. And it's one step. It's just another step closer to trying to get back to some normalcy. So we're very excited. In conclusion, you know, I believe the state of our district is strong. It's strong because of our people, our students, our parents, our community members, our staff members, professionals, support that work in the district. Every day, our people put kids first and do whatever it takes to provide the very best educational program for each and every student. And not just educational. You know, as we've talked about, our goal is to serve the whole child. Our district is strong because of our outstanding leadership at the building and district level, including a board of education who consistently advocates for the students and families that you serve. I'm so proud to be part of a district that works so hard to be the very best that it can be for each and every one of the approximately 10,000 students that we serve. And that concludes the 2021 State of the District presentation. And I will be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions or comments from the board?
I do have a question. How do you find the energy to do How do you find the energy to do all of this? This is amazing, and in all seriousness. Thank you for everything that you've done. It's hard to believe that we've actually accomplished all of these things through COVID. You know, it's been a very challenging time for the entire country. But based on the body of work and the evidence here in Fairfield City Schools, I would say that we have rode the wave successfully. And thank you to all the staff. Thank you for everything that you've done in making this a success. I'm very pleased. I'm not so worried about MAP scores. I know we'll get to the place we need to be. With everything that we've gone through, my worries are the wholeness of the kids, and from what I've seen, they seem to be doing pretty well. Obviously, we've got children that are just thriving in spite of the situations, and you can't ask for any more than that, really. So thank you, and job well done.
Any comments?
Yeah, I guess the best thing I can say about the State of the District presentation is it reminds me a lot of last year, right? Which means that we have, during a pandemic, overcome so much to make it as normal as possible, which of course is a very good thing. I think you said it in there, I picked up on it. Never use the pandemic as an excuse. Never say, no, not this year. And I think that reoccurring theme came up over and over and over. And it's not the exact experience, but it's pretty close to it. And you've done a wonderful job of allowing our students to not only be in the classroom, but to excel outside of it as well. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
I also just want to say thank you to you and the other administrators and the staff and teachers. You all have just done an amazing job, especially considering the circumstances that this year has brought. When we sit here in these meetings and we see presentations, or as you're looking at the website and you see the different achievements that students and staff members do, you think about it on a day-to-day basis or a month-to-month basis or meeting-to-meeting basis, but when you see everything in front of you all at once, you're like, oh my gosh, like, you're even more blown away then. So thank you all so much for everything you do.
Thank you, and I think the key is thank you all. And I get to stand here and deliver, but it's the people in this room and many, many other people who aren't here and that you may not ever get to meet that are doing the heavy lifting every single day. But thank you so much.
Yeah, I just want to echo everything else. But that collage of celebration is amazing. I mean, with all the negativity around social media and news and everything else, this needs to be broadcast of through Facebook. Let's get that out there and all share it, because the kids are doing a great job. They're from where they were, a year ago, or right when we started this mess. Man, it's unbelievable. And like you said, when you guys can turn on a dime, that's amazing. So similar to what Ms. Shorter said, when things get back to normal, you're going to have to do so much now because everything will be normal. So you can do much, much more. But hopefully you'll be able to take a break at that time. And I just want to say thank you and well done to the IT guys and ladies and the cafeteria, the facilities. Like you said, all the ones that are behind the scenes that we don't see, the hands and feet, the quiet, silent partners that we don't get to really see, that aren't the quarterbacks or the pitcher that get the main focus. Billy, you do a great job with leading the team, and you have a great team to lead, and you lead by example, and they follow. And there's a lot of great leaders in this district, and I'm very proud to have my kids in this district. So thank you and all your team for what you do, sincerely.
Yeah, I think all the board members made some tremendous points. It reminded me that, when March happened, it was almost like being reborn, being a baby. You have to learn how to walk, to learn how to talk. I mean, all the little things that we all just took for granted that happened in the school every day, all had to be redone in a different way. And I think it shows to the entire leadership team that took the attitude of, we just have to get it done. And it doesn't matter who gets the credit for it. Just let's chip in together and let's get it done. From the parent volunteers to the community volunteers to teachers volunteering, when they weren't even in the classroom over the summer. Just whatever it needed to happen to get it done, people did it. So, and again, it was even just the simplest things to how are they going to eat breakfast in the morning? How are they going to eat lunch in the afternoon? How are they going to learn if they don't have laptops? How are they going to, because we have to do remote. And what does that look like? By getting a great remote learning system. So I know I'll never take for granted the littlest things in a school day for a long, long time. And I don't even have kids in the school district anymore. But I do have grandchildren, and I can see that from the teachers to the bus drivers to the cafeteria workers to the principals, everybody every day has an impact on their lives. And so I say to everybody, all the employees, all the staff members in the school district and the volunteers, thank you so very much for getting us where we are today. Still some ways to go, but at least we know that we have a great team in place that are capable of pivoting on a dime and getting things done. So thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And thank you for keeping it under an hour and 15 minutes.
55 minutes.
I know, it was great. It was fantastic.
It's all double-sided. I was like, are you kidding?
Okay. While Mr. Smith makes his way back to his seat,